Chasing Dirt show with me, Jack Ellison, and your co-host there, Jerry Food. Jerry, it is the September the 22nd, Monday. Monday's almost over with, thank God. But how are you, man?
Crazy. I'm doing great. Hope everybody's doing well. Man, it's crazy. These months are just flying by, and we shouldn't be having this much fun, Jack, but we are. So
Yeah, we shouldn't have it this much fun, but no, I think today, we had a good episode last week with Michelle from the CEO of
yeah,
Swept, so
it's
that
very
was
good.
very informative. Again, I think we're getting our groove down that we're going to have a guest every Friday, so we've got another guest coming up with a one of our not one of ours, but a distributor out of Dakota Paper. So I'm looking forward to having him get his perspective, really talk about this consolidation, what he's seeing, what he's hearing on the street. So I'm kind of excited about that,
Mm.
and we'll have a few other guests along the way. So all good. But today we need to dive into a conversation, and I think we've got one kind of close to us, but not so much close to us. But
Yeah.
you want to kind of kick off what you were thinking earlier?
Well, I think one of the things that I think we're finding, and that's kind of near and dear to my heart, is you know helping, and I think I'm on the right conversation. We've had several today, but helping organizations, smaller companies get over the hurdle, and how does that happen in our industry, right? And how do we allow ourselves to guide and direct organizations, janitorial BSCs, to move forward and to grow and build a good foundation and move the company forward? And it's really all of us just coming together and helping those organizations. And one of the things that I mentioned to you was the the struggle in my heart and mind over seeing companies that our industry standards, still 50% of the companies that start up as a janitorial company don't make it past the first 2 years.
Yeah.
And I hate that for our industry. I hate that for entrepreneurs. And is it an easy industry to get into? Yes. Is it a hard one to grow and maintain? Absolutely. And so I just have a real desire to see that happen. And obviously, that's my heart. And that's what we've been focused on through the mentorship program and our and joint coaching programs with our companies, and helping companies build that strong foundation, and then drawing in all the organizations, all the national organizations like BSCAI, ISSA, obviously the route team and elite BSCs, all these organizations coming together and just working hard to better our industry and make it a great place to be as an entrepreneur, and helping them with the steps and the platforms and the guiding principles and the guardrails to be able to do that. So yeah, that's a
So
whole lot right there on the table. So
that's a whole lot of a topic. Yeah, but that was the topic we discussed. I
yeah,
think my mission, your mission is that. My mission is how do we get them as quickly as possible from point A to
yeah,
point Z. Let's just use that one.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think let me ask you this, Jerry. Again, we come from two different sides. I think that's what we complement. The manufacturing distribution side of my side. I've been fortunate enough to work with hundreds of commercial contract cleaners across the United States and Caribbean. There's a whole story we can go on about the Caribbean when I was at Spartan, my days there. But let me ask you this. It seems like there was an old adage in sales that if you can't sell, you manage. You become the sales manager.
Mhm.
There's an old joke. People, you can't sell, you become the sales manager. But help me understand, because it seems like, I don't know about you, but maybe I get into my algorithms of Instagram, but I just get every single day a brand new person dropping in and saying, "Oh, I can coach, I can mentor." And I look at some of these people. I won't mention names, but some of these people, they operate a $200,000 a year residential cleaning business. Not that that's to sneeze at, but it's not commercial. It's not a 500,000 or $1 million, and I can't make that claim. So I'll be very transparent, but I can make the claim. I've worked with several large organizations throughout the years, as included now, to talk about breaking down pieces. But on your side, you built a $6-7 million company, exited successfully. But help me struggle. Like when you see this stuff floating around, and again, I don't get aggravated about it, but I also know that that buyer has to be aware and that you got to be careful of
Mhm.
who you partner with. And I think everybody has something they can share. I don't care if you're in the business a year, you've got something you learn that you probably teach somebody along the way. That I don't want to make this mistake, but how did you choose, or how do you coach, or when you mentor one-on-ones, how do you say, hey, these are people maybe you should be able to listen to, or here's some tests that you can say that they're saying this, and this is probably a worthwhile investment to kind of move down the path. But help me navigate me through that, if you would.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so let me preface it by this, and this is a definition of my own doing just for this conversation too. But so there's a difference between mentoring, coaching, and consulting, right? Mentoring is someone that I think that is willing to sit down and give you an hour a month for free just to talk and help you and guide you as you grow your business. Consulting is, hey, we have all the answers, the frameworks, the paperwork. We're just going to interject this into your business and make it work. Coaching is guiding someone through their processes and procedures to build a strong foundation, to be able to build their company on firm foundation, and then someday be able to scale it and make it into a bigger entity. So keep those definitions in mind. So when we talk about coaching, I see it as, if I'm going to hire someone to help guide me and coach me, I want them to have, number one, I want them to have multiple years of experience.
Yeah.
Because if I'm old school, Jack. If you haven't been there and done it, then there's not a lot you can probably tell me. Now, there's the education side of coaching. Then there's the I've been there and done it side of coaching, and I happen to fall on that side more strongly. Yes. Do I have an education? Yes. But my education didn't teach me a lot of things that I learned by just doing it and being in the industry. So it's a very people-centric business. And I would encourage those who are looking for any kind of guidance in that world. Coaching is a big industry. It's booming right now when everybody says they can coach. Well, what I would challenge that is to say, if you're going to coach in the industry that you're familiar with and that you've been in, you've lived in, because it's going to be a lot easier to guide people. And I say that with all the respect in the world. Do I have businesses outside of the janitorial world? Yes, maybe 20% of my business, but I can only guide them to a certain amount of success. And then I always tell them, listen, I don't know anything about the painting industry. I don't know anything about the car selling industry. I can help you get some good organizational structure in place and some practices. But from there, you're going to need to, team up with someone that can help you. So the same is true in our industry. I would encourage people, if you're going to hire a coach, hire someone that has been in it, has done it, and has been successful at it. And that is not look at me, a haughty thing. That is I'm just telling you, there are conversations we have daily, Jack and I, and even on our own individually, we have conversations with people that if we hadn't done it or been there and done it, so to speak, we wouldn't have an answer for them, or it would be very hard and we might guide them astray, And so I think it's a worthwhile investment, especially for new entrepreneurs, people that are trying to get in the business. It's, I have a customer, she tells everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs a coach. And I love her for it. I think it's amazing. She's probably my biggest fan, but it's true. We've seen her company go from, I'll just say this, she's doubled in a year and 5 months, just working the principles that we've given her. And then coaching, we make ourselves accessible to her to be able to help answer the questions. So that would be my encouragement. I don't know if the path, that we necessarily want to go down, but I would definitely encourage people, if you're going to hire a coach or look for someone that is in the industry that can best help. And there's some great ones out there. We're not the only one. I mean,
I think we want to recommend to people. I think, quite honest, Jared, from day one, we've kind of said too, we want you to outgrow us. Most of our clients, we want you to outgrow us. And outgrowing comes in different phases. Outgrowing comes from you're meeting every week to maybe you're meeting twice a month. Then you're from once a month. And then maybe you disappear for 3 months, because that's one thing I know that we've done is we will pile you up with a roadmap of things to do. And, pulling back and saying, we need a couple, 3 months to catch up and get those things implemented, then we're going to
Yeah.
pull you back in. But I think that's one component. I will say this, there's some exceptions within coaching.
Mhm.
And technology is changing so rapidly that just because someone hasn't been in the business 25 years plus, that's not someone you want to trust, because I think technology is moving so quickly that you want to pull in somebody that says, okay, have you worked with, maybe you've only been in this segment for 2 or 3 years, but you've had 25, 30, 40 contract cleaners you worked with to set up a system from a technology standpoint, AI being one of
Yeah,
those.
yeah, yeah.
Marketing.
My comments are void of technology because it's bringing so much to the industry. So I agree with you on that 100%. So
But people, that's where your sweet spot is. You've been through the ups and downs, the highs and the lows, and the frustrations with your number one asset, your people. So
yeah.
I think that's the one thing that I think if you're going to put coaching together, I think that's what you got to base everything around, because all the other stuff is peripheral compared to your people.
Yeah, I've helped some customers win, and sometimes they've had to let people go that just didn't fit. And I kind of, just to be the mean uncle that came in and said they don't fit, and
Yeah.
I don't like it, but that helps people. And I think people, we lose sight of the fact that we are taking on all the responsibility as business owners to run the organization. We go to bed at night wondering about people's paycheck. And then when it turns around and we got to make a tough decision to better the business, it gets very hard. And sometimes we'll let our company suffer and our success suffer because we don't want to make that decision. And having a coach to guide you through that, who's done it numerous times, sad to say, it's a great thing. You really just need somebody to go, you're going to be okay on the other side of it,
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things we're trying to do too, because we talked about this earlier. And the frustration I had from the manufacturing distribution side is everyone's so silent, and more so on the manufacturers. That guy who makes a floor scrubber is rarely talking to the guy who makes the chemical to clean. Sometimes they're one and the same. There's crossovers, but that guy that makes the floor scrubber doesn't talk to the guy who makes the cleaning chemical, who doesn't talk to the guy who makes the brush, who doesn't talk. And if you think about it, like if I were to, every time I got a demo when I was selling chemicals, if I got a demo that my equipment guy came in, my floor pad guy came in, my XYZ guy came in, and they did the reverse side, we would all win together. And I guess that's one of the things that I was wanting to break down. That's how I ran into Ricardo with Route, but breaking down those silos. But I also think there's some serious silos within the coaching and consulting. And again, there's these lines being drawn that I don't like so much either, because I think there's a certain amount of information that should be foundational, just good business. Here's how you need to, think about the business, because, and then anything above that should be saying, this is private to our organization. This is our secret sauce. And, we're not giving that away. But I see a lot of people out there breaking these silos, not breaking the silos, but putting more walls up to get that basic information and saying, hey, there's a paywall there. And again, there should be some compensation for, if I can get you from a year, what did it take you 3 years to learn? I can do that in 6 months. There should be some kind of, compensation. But I think there's some core knowledge that needs to be just given out to the industry to get the right people in the business. Because as we talked about earlier, is the biggest obstacle with those folks, those 50% that don't make it after a year or two, is they're not running a business. They're basically really busy. They're in the front line, they're cleaning. Again, you'll have to do that some regards, but if you had to approach it from day one of saying, I've got to start a business that I am not going to be doing the actual cleaning, that would be a whole mindset. That other mindset is, what is my value of my time worth? I think a lot of folks that get into the business, they look at it and going, well, I'm making, $25 an hour in my full-time job. My part-time job, I'm making 27. I'm doing pretty good. And quite honestly, that's undervaluing probably themselves as well. So
I think I think in our industry, it's an outstanding industry. And I think there's a lot of people that want to get in. And I think in general, throughout the industry, since I've been in it for 19, 20 years, there's always been a little bit of reservation to open up and give trade secrets or say, here's how we were successful. But we can't at one side say we're here to help grow and build the industry. And we got people down here that are 50% of them are falling off, and there's a void there somewhere. And we've got to make sure that as industry leaders and coaches and consultants, whatever you are, and organizations, we got to make sure and bridge that gap. And we got to find ways to do it. And yeah, we're all in, a lot of people are in business to make money. We can't do it for free, but like you said, there's just some general guiding principles and basic standard things that every cleaning company or entrepreneur should have access to get going and get started. And listen, it's an age old thing, man. You've got to have, you've got to be chasing after or following after someone or something, to understand what the best processes are, best pillars of grounding your company. It's just, I mean, as much as I despise architects, I had a great love for them before I went in the cleaning business. Then when I went to cleaning business and I got my second construction clean, and the architects designed a building where the glass was octagonal at the top. So you had this base, and then you had this library that was all glass. And on the top there were AC units, but no way to tie off, to clean that glass that kind of went under. And I was like, this is so ridiculous. Why did they think about the cleaning company? And that was always my example of, why don't they call us and go, how can you clean this glass if I build it this way? And it's just all, you just figure it out. And so that was a basic thing. I thought, why could an architect just pull in the cleaner and go, hey, our window guy, and go, if we build this, what's the best way to get to
Well,
it?
I studied architecture for 2 years, and I went to landscape architecture of all things. But that's called the form versus function debate that you have.
Yeah.
Form
Yeah.
more. Some guys are more about the form. Some more or gals are more about the function. Here's the interesting thing, though. You bring that point up, and again, this is a little side tangent, but I think you're going to see architects get more and more involved in cleaning because of autonomous equipment coming out and having to put that equipment in there. Labor, all this good shortage may be occurring. So anyway, that's one thing. But I think breaking those walls down.
I didn't mean to chase a rabbit. I was
like,
go. A foundational thing,
shiny object. But I think that's the thing is, like, we want to break down some barriers. We will recommend you to people that you may perceive us as our competitors, but at the end of the day, they're moving the industry forward too. I just connected with, I guess, Jordan, is the guy you talked about a lot. I think he's one. Garen's one. Josh has got his own. Josh Melton's got his own podcast now. So this I wouldn't say little, but the people, the voices that have something to say are starting to rise up, and there's a lot of good free information. But I think to do it right is you go out there and you grab those pieces, but you need someone to help you kind of say, this is how to orchestrate that into your business, because there's so many buckets within the business now that you've got to really think about the overall picture and how those different processes fit in those different buckets.
Yeah. Well, and two, we've said this multiple times. I mean, this industry is a $90 billion industry, but it's growing. 10, 15 years ago, it might've been a 60, $70 billion. I mean, it's growing like crazy, and there's always a need. It's sustainable. It's a very solid industry to get into. And yeah, I think we're going to see just a great collaboration of everybody, the big players in the industry, continue to break down those barriers and work together. And I'm always constantly, hey, give this person, you need this person. And, do I give up, opportunities financially at times? Obviously so, but my desire to see people win in this industry is much bigger than that. And, eventually that'll turn, I guess, and come back. We've got so many people with great hearts that want to see this industry succeed. And, I know you and I are guys like that. We want to help people win, and we drop everything we're doing and get on a phone call with somebody for a simple question. And so I think it's important that we have more of that throughout the industry. And, and work. I mean, I love it. I love pushing our trade shows. I love pushing training events for all the people that are, doing stuff. So it's a great industry. So
agreed. And I'm working on something too. I'm going to get it out. So I'll probably put it as one of our things, but I'm working on those 12 or associations, industry associations, groups, and business solution companies that every
Yeah.
contract cleaner should know. Again, it may not be the right fit for you at the right time, but what I'm going to do is going to give out these 12 organizations that you need to be at least striking a conversation with. Ricardo says it all the time. I love the comment is your network is your net worth. So
Yeah.
even though you may not be doing business with them today, the
Yeah.
conversations that you'll have, the insights that you'll gather, the just filling those buckets up within those different areas of your company as far as the nomenclature and kind of things you need to be thinking about. May not be the right time, not be the right vendor, but it might be right the right
Yeah.
at some point something. So
Well, and these organizations are all developed and designed and built and to help you grow your business. And every one of them, whether it's BSCAI, ISSA, Route, Elite BSC with Jordan, I'm just naming some of the ones that are out there that are fresh in my head. All those bring different value to you as a business owner, and they all bring you to a place where you're going to start implementing and putting into action the things you learn from those things to grow your business. So it's an exciting time to be in the industry, and yeah, I mean, obviously, if we can help you, Jack and I, with coaching, we're there for you,
yeah,
and it's not free, but the reward of the benefits from it are amazing. So
I think we would safe to say that whatever you invest into this, and again, we can put a link on the page, but anything you invest into it, our commitment is that you'll see at least minimum 2x out of that comes out of back out of that. And I
for sure.
think within the first, if we're not bringing value within the first month, we'll say, hey, go ahead and let's part ways. But that has not happened yet. And again, if anything, we'll throw a lot of stuff to you that you'll need to get put together, but we'll also give you the playbooks to make it happen. So
Yeah.
no, I think good conversation. I just think that was the basis we talked about earlier is breaking down some barriers. I think there's some protective natures going on within the business that people need to break off and kind of think about the bigger picture. But we're here to fight that fight and go through it and make things happen. So, any final thoughts before we head out of here?
No, man, I'm excited. I hope everybody has a great week and join us on Friday for sure at 11. And yeah, let's just have a great week, work hard, and stay out of trouble, like my dad used to say.
Stay out of trouble. No, but we what is the guest? So I gotta pull that up. I guess we got Joel, the guest, but we'll pull him in. But we're talking about distribution this Friday. Should be a good episode. And in the meantime, if you need to reach me, Jack at GetRoute, you got Jerry at GetRoute.com as well. Reach out to us if you have any questions. We're happy to set up a one-on-one call with you to kind of talk about what we do. And yeah, as soon as I finish this this 12 vendors you need to know, I think we'll make that an episode as well.
That's great. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
All
Thanks.
right, man.
Appreciate it.
See you later.
All righty.